As I'm filming this, there are fires happening around LA County right now, where I live. One of the main affected areas is the city of Altadena, which has a lot of historic Black neighborhoods and has just been a haven for Black people to buy property and build more generational wealth. It's a child of immigrants, a child of refugees. I also understand that generational wealth is not something that everyone has the privilege of having. So in this video description, I'm sharing a spreadsheet of a list of GoFundMe fundraisers to help support displaced Black families. If you have any funds to share, if you have a tarot deck or oracle deck that you can hold off on buying, I'm sure there are families out there that would appreciate those funds instead, especially in this trying time of working through all this devastation of losing their homes from the fires. So yes, link in the description. Thank you. Anyway, I'm trying this new eyebrow pomade and my eyebrows are looking a little bit darker on camera. It's interesting. We're going with it. We're trying new things here. I'm also wearing gloves that I made. Look at this. They're like little sweaters. Isn't that so cute? All right, I'm continuing this video series of the Top Tarot Trumps times Tarot Memoirs project I started last year. For those who are new to my channel, this is an installment that's inspired by the Top Tarot Trumps hashtag done by Musings by Mascha. She started this last year. And also the Tarot Memoirs series that Lisa Papez did like 6 years ago at this point. In this mashup series, I'm finding personal examples of how each of these major arcana has showed up in my life, throughout my life, some specific examples, and the Top Tarot Trumps part is where I share 5 of my favorite of that card across all my different tarot decks. My motivation for starting and continuing this video series has been to conceptualize these major arcana in a way that actually makes sense for me. So often I'll hear like repeated definitions or shared definitions of a tarot card, but I want to find ways to connect these cards to my lived experiences. And there's the added benefit of people sharing their own experiences in the comments related to each card, so it helps add to our collective knowledge, add to my knowledge of the tarot. I don't just mean knowledge from like books and rote memorized definitions. I mean knowledge as in experiences, my lived experiences and understanding other people's lived experiences and how we tie all of those lived experiences into these tarot archetypes. So in this video, we're talking about the Wheel of Fortune. This one was a difficult one for me. I've been simmering on this for like for many weeks. Many decks will depict the Wheel of Fortune almost the same as like the Rider-Waite-Smith Wheel of Fortune, which is usually a wheel. There's 4 animals in the corners, astrological associations with the 4 animals. The thing is, I don't read with astrological associations. Even if I memorize the meanings, it just doesn't make sense for me in my lived experiences. When I get this card in a reading, how do I apply these 4 animals to this actual situation that I'm trying to read about? And I find similar difficulties or frustrations with cards like the 3 of Swords or the 7 of Swords, 8 of Wands. Like the deck will have such cool themes, such cool imagery. All of the cards really make sense with the story of the deck, but then some cards will just feel like rehashes of the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. And I'm not saying this is bad or like no deck should ever do this ever. If the artist wants to do it, it's their deck. For me, I do want to see like these cards actually make sense in the context of this deck. So when a deck that doesn't have any like astrological like associations or meanings in any of the cards, they randomly show like this Wheel of Fortune being this wheel with 4 animals from astrology, it frustrates me. I want to see something that makes sense with the context and the themes of the deck. Another reason why I had a difficult time understanding this card is because little white books, deck guidebooks, can sometimes just repeat unhelpful phrases or keywords that don't mean anything to me personally. For example, from one of my guidebooks, the phrase for the Wheel of Fortune literally says, "Destiny is at play." What does this mean? I don't believe in destiny. Not even that I don't believe in it, I just can't even conceptualize it. I don't really believe in destiny in like the universal sense. Maybe destiny in like humans designed these systems, so they're working the way that they're designed to work kind of way. But anyway, like the concept of destiny is at play just does not work for me. And so when decks repeat phrases like this, destiny and karma, like it's just language that does not make sense for me. Now, some comments and insights that did help me understand the Wheel of Fortune concepts better. I did ask in the Sass Witches server, because if I were to trust anybody to help me understand from a skeptical or secular perspective, it would definitely be other fellow science-seeking, atheist, secular practitioners. So I want to share some other comments that did help me understand and give context to the Wheel of Fortune for myself. I actually love that the universe hands you things you can't predict, and you just have to roll with it. I don't know what I would do with myself if I could actually control everything in my life. Turning points in our lives and the changes in circumstances that could be abrupt or inevitable. The Wheel of Fortune reminds me of the interconnectedness of everything, the butterfly effect of small actions, but at the same time, the inertia of large groups that absorb any deviation from the mean. No matter what you do, you can't really control what happens elsewhere by other people, and their actions will continue to add to the web of interconnectedness of causality. I simultaneously see it as a wheel spinning in a never-ending cycle, but also a rolling wheel. Even if you come back to the same position, top, bottom, etc., your wheel might have rolled forwards and you'll see and experience something slightly different. Progress and cycles working together. So this collection of quotes and insights was really helpful for me. It helped make this abstract concept of the wheel of fate and destiny into something that I can actually visualize. So the themes that I'm seeing with all these quotes that I finally understand now is turning points, change is happening, or change has happened, or change will happen. I can't predict or fully know what will happen. Various factors play into what will happen, not just my own actions. Another theme is being in the moment and being receptive to what is. So actually acknowledging the changes and the things happening around you rather than like trying to stay stuck in the past or always trying to stay stuck in to look forward or something. Lastly, the main theme really is progress and cycles and patterns. So that being shared, I came up with some memoirs and personal examples of the Wheel of Fortune in my lived experiences. So the first memoir, the first experience I'm tying to this Wheel of Fate energy is the process, the cycle of establishing new friendships and relationships. Now that I'm reflecting on this concept of cycles, like a whole circular thing or a whole like arc, like a story arc kind of thing, establishing, maintaining new friendships and relationships is definitely an example of wheel. You know, I think socializing can be a bit predictable, which means that sometimes it is comforting for me because I kind of know what to expect, and sometimes it feels boring for me because, oh my God, I want to skip the small talk sometimes to just get real into the deep of things. But there is merit to having this cycle of establishing a relationship. As much as we might want to always skip the small talk, there is place and time when that small talk is actually helpful. It would be pretty tiring to dive straight into like deep talk all the time. And also, if I want the relationship to be long lasting, it is okay to have moments of like small talk or like light conversation. Light conversation helps like mitigate the times between deeper conversations. I guess I'm jumping ahead. So the cycle, the arc here of the wheel relating to the cycle of friendships and relationships, right? Like I guess when I am looking to make new friends or meet new acquaintances, then there is a period of like getting to know people, even casting out feelers in the first place. That could be in meetup groups in person. It could also be joining new groups or making videos like this online where we're trying to reach new people, or commenting on other people's videos too. We're trying to connect with new people. So there is a phase in this arc of making new relationships. There's always a phase of like casting out your feelers, deciding who you want to reach, who you want to connect with. Then the next phase, once you've made some acquaintances, had some light conversations, or maybe deep conversations, the next phase is to start poking more at the other person and seeing what other conversation topics you can talk about. Acquaintances start getting whittled down to potential friends. Then the phase after that, with these potential friends or like new friends, then we start planning more activities together, having more conversations, branch out into things beyond our initial conversations, our initial activities. After that friendship has been established, then we hopefully move to the close friendship. I mean, I guess not hopefully. It's okay to have friendships that are just friends and not close friends. Not every friendship has to become a close friendship. This is just like the cycle of like finding new friends. My goal usually with finding new friends is usually to find people to connect with on a soul level, but I have to remember that that can't happen right away. I have to go through these phases of like putting out feelers, having these like acquaintance type conversations first, and then we do the acquaintance dance of like trying to hang out more and converse more outside of our like main interest and things like that. What this reminds me of with this wheel energy is that it's okay for me to not always be open to meeting new people or open to socializing. There are phases of my life, there are years in the past where I have been open to meeting new people. And there are other years when I just have so much going on. I really just don't have the capacity to make new friendships. I just want to stick with the friends that I have. The wheel here, talking about cycles. With friendships, it's okay for me to not be open all the time. And it's also okay for me to be open, even if I have like other friendships I'm like working on in the meantime. I guess if I got this Wheel of Fate card in a reading, I would be reminded to actually look at where I am and how I'm feeling, acknowledge the season I'm in, instead of pressuring myself to do something that I just really don't feel like doing at this time. Trust that I am going to feel like doing it in the future, and I did feel like doing it before, but right now I'm just not feeling it, and that is okay. That leads me to the next memoir or personal example of the wheel, which is yearly planning or project planning. Jo of Pointed Logic Tarot gave me this idea. I was telling her about how when I'm planning this next year, I would like to go on a couple of trips and travel to see friends and stuff, but at this moment, in the beginning of January, end of December, I really do not feel excited to travel, and I feel really weird about that. And the insight she gave me was so helpful. The gist of it was, this is just the season I'm in now. I don't have to think about the trip like right now. I can put in alarm or a note in my calendar 3 months before the potential trip. I can check in with myself and then cement plans at that time. But I don't need to pressure myself to like make these trips happen or envision them that much if it's like 6, 8, 12 months before the trip is going to happen. So that was like a big light bulb moment for me. I always have felt pressure before to be everything all the time, and that's just impossible. This wheel cycle, this thing reminds me, even in project planning or yearly planning, there's like the envisioning process, the phase of envisioning and planning. Then after you plan, then there's the execution phase. Then we have the evaluation at the end of it. So it is okay if I'm still reflecting on and evaluating things that I did recently. It's okay that I don't feel like executing anything right now, because right now is not the season for executing. Right now it's a season for envisioning, or right now it's a season for evaluating. So I now understand these seasons of life better, not just in like the physical environment, the physical changes of the earth that we're seeing, but also in like the seasons, the phases of ourselves. The word phase is also interesting to consider. I always associated phase with being like a negative concept. We often hear it when people are like either coming out as not straight or not cis, or maybe when they're really getting into a new interest. Oftentimes unsupportive parents or unsupportive other people will be like,
oh, it's just a phase. Oh, like you say you're bi now, but like you'll get over it later and eventually you'll realize you're like straight.
phase is meant to dismiss someone's experiences as like not valid because it'll end soon. That's an unhelpful idea because A, can we really tell the future? Do you really know if this like tarot deck collecting is a phase or if it's here for the long term? How do you really know the future? And B, even if it was a phase, even if this period of time, this period of feeling ended, does that mean it didn't matter? It still matters because we got to experience, we got to experiment, we got to try these things out before deciding that they didn't work for us. Also, maybe some things don't work for us, but they did work for us for a long time. For example, I was really into crochet and knit for a really long time. Like I crocheted this blanket. I don't crochet now because I just find knitting more satisfying, but I don't think that my phase of crochet was like less valid or I don't know, should be dismissed. I still learned a lot from it. I was into crochet for like many years. I sold stuff and I learned a lot from it. And that experience, that knowledge will always be with me, even if I no longer actively crochet. You're still made a better person because of the experience that you allowed yourself to have, because you got to experiment. So anyway, dude, all of this is like tying in with the wheel. We don't always have to be in the mindset of like envisioning and executing and evaluating all at the same time. It's okay to have specific phases where those things happen and to really just be in like envisioning mode, executing mode, and evaluating mode. That is just the cycle of the wheel. The last tarot memoir or experience I'll mention is preparing for an absence. In my case, I'm pre-filming all of these because I won't have time to film in the next couple weeks and I'm going to be out of town for 2 weeks. So I bought this book, Tarot for the Hard Work, last year from a local tarot shop. The tagline here is an archetypal journey to confront racism and inspire collective healing. It has sections like the Wheel of Fortune in liberation work. So these are like actual examples of the Wheel of Fortune being applied to situations. This one I really love, this section called How the Wheel of Fortune Can Show Up. So there's actual bullet point examples of what I'm trying to get at with this whole series. These bullet points were very helpful for me and helped me understand more examples. I'll just read all of the bullet points here real quick. The balanced Wheel of Fortune remains connected to their central mission, learns quickly from mistakes, pivots when necessary, considers adversity temporary, displays optimism, negotiates fairly, and turns lemons into lemonade. Also, the imbalanced Wheel of Fortune controls excessively, refuses to switch gears, battles indecision, gives up easily, ignores signs, expects instant results, and feels powerless. I quickly want to share this paragraph here that was very insightful. The Wheel of Fortune lives in the moment, finding synchronicities and opportunities that can advance their cause. They read weekly bulletins, keep up with local news, write newsletters, look out for grants, and maintain connections with other revolutionary individuals and groups. They absolutely believe that their goals are possible and that opportunities to promote progress can appear at any given moment. So back to the memoir, preparing for absence is a Wheel of Fortune moment or a Wheel of Fate action. Another example is being prepared in case of emergency, like having your evacuation bag, your go bag. I now had the foresight to look forward in my calendar to notice that, these next couple weeks I will not be able to film because I'm having people over, and I also will not be able to edit or post because I'm going to be out of town after that. So I should take the moment now to prepare for my absence by filming some videos that I can edit throughout the week when I don't have to film. So this idea of preparing for the future, of actually looking ahead to the future changes, that's definitely a Wheel of Fate moment. It's also similar to how animals will collect nuts for the winter. You're looking ahead to the changes happening next season, and you're preparing for them in the meantime. All right, now shifting to the last part of this video, which is top tarot trumps, looking at all of my favorite Wheel of Fate tarot cards across all my different decks. My first favorite Wheel of Fate I want to mention is from the Flow Tarot. Here there's a volcano erupting, smoke and ash coming out of the volcano, and also water underneath the volcano. The keyword here says the cycle of regeneration. The guidebook of the Flow Tarot is really beautifully written. I think it's one of my favorite guidebooks. Every time I read from this book, it's very poignant. I want to share this paragraph. The wheel card reminds you that cycles of change aren't just isolated to one single moment, place, or species. It's a whole connected turning. Fall is not the drop of a single leaf. Spring is not the opening of a single bloom. The red-hot fires of transformation may look like they are the only things changing, but it spreads out from there, supporting a whole network. You are no different. Cycles of change echo throughout your life, sometimes with a big splash, sometimes with a small ripple. But once a cycle has been set in motion, look for the changes. What is being turned over in your life? What is being burned away? What is being made new? If you just let it, just how far could these spiraling cycles of change reach in your life? And every page has a little affirmation here. So this affirmation for the Wheel of Fate says, I hold space for change. I love this mention of how change is not just one thing happening. It really is a whole connected turning, as the guidebook says. So with the wheel, whether these are seasons or phases happening in our own lives or things happening around us, the wheel can be a call to notice all of these different changes, not just focus on like what's going wrong or what do we feel stressed about. This volcano erupting symbolizes how there were times before when the volcano was not erupting and then life was happening then. And now we're in this new phase where the volcano is erupting and now change is happening. And then there will be a new phase, a new normal, a new season when the volcano is no longer erupting and new life gets built, come into creation from this volcano and the new land that it creates. Another favorite Wheel of Fate is from the Tarot of Mystical Moments. This card depicts someone wearing a big red dress, and the dress opens to reveal a whole system of gears turning underneath the dress, even on top of the dress too. This mechanical take on the Wheel of Fate fascinates me compared to so many other depictions of natural and life cycles in the Wheel of Fate. The definition I wrote for this card is there are things happening on the other side that we're not aware of. This goes back to earlier comments I was sharing about how connected we all are. There are things happening outside of our control, outside of our own perception that we're not aware of that are still affecting what we're doing. That lines up more with my idea of fate or destiny. Rather than fate being determined by the universe or a cosmic force, I really believe that we're just kind of predestined based on these situations that we've already been put in, and especially things that other people have already put us in. For example, if you live in certain zip codes of the United States, you are likely to have like a better income or likely to have better education than people in other zip codes because of the redlining and the segregation that is historical in our country. That's an example of what I mean when I say I don't believe in fate in like a cosmic or universal sense. I more see fate as like us being affected by decisions that humans in our current life and in our past histories have made for us. So yeah, this card with this depiction of like these gears, it definitely feels very Wheel of Fortune to me. It's, again, very interesting take compared to so many other decks. Another Wheel of Fate I really love is from the Way of the Panda Tarot. This one depicts a Ferris wheel as the Wheel of Fate, Wheel of Fortune. I initially thought that this card was like a bit too simplistic, but over time, thinking on it more, I grew to really love it. I think it's pretty ingenious. When you're on different parts of the wheel, you will get different perspectives of the fairground below you. When you're on like one side, you might see mainly the parking lot. When you're on the other side, you might see mainly the fairground. When you're at the bottom, you see mainly all the people behind you bored as they're waiting in line to be in your car. It reminds me of what I mentioned earlier with like project planning or your yearly planning. Like there's a time or a phase when I'm in the envisioning mode and my brain is wired towards envisioning and planning right now. And then after the Ferris wheel turns, then I'm in the execution mode where my brain is now wired towards getting things done, getting things out into the world, getting things in motion. And then my brain will go into the next part of the Ferris wheel, which is the evaluation mode, which is thinking about what we just did and reflecting on all that we saw and did. And then what do I want to do next time I'm in the envisioning mode again? So yeah, this Ferris wheel is very, very ingenious. Next Wheel of Fate I want to mention is from the Light Seers Tarot. I love the joyful expression of this figure here. I just filmed a video of the Gentle Tarot where I also talked a lot about how much I love that card, that deck's like free expressions. And this one in the Light Seers gives me that same vibe. This person is dancing and having a sort of freedom on top of this poker chip. And this poker chip definitely makes me think of gambling and leaving it up to choice and dancing with whatever the outcome is. The hands being outstretched, it feels like they're either releasing, like channeling light and dark energy or like positive and negative feelings, or they're being receptive to it, like letting the energy come in. So yeah, this person just feels really centered and really free as they're navigating like the uncertainties of whatever's going on around them. And the last Wheel of Fate I'll mention is a super ingenious one. This one really helps me understand. This is from the Unicorn's Journey Tarot by Lisa Papez. In this Wheel of Fortune, Mystic's owner or friend Carolyn is going off to school again, which means that Carolyn is going to be with Mystic less. Carolyn's hair being shorter signifies that she is growing throughout the years, which means that there will be a time in the future when Carolyn might not want to spend time with Mystic anymore because she's growing up even more. This is a great illustration of what the Wheel of Fortune can actually mean in real time, and not just as this abstract concept as the seasons. When seasons change, when phases change, there are new priorities for us and for people around us. So it is on us to actively adjust with these changing seasons and actively reprioritize with all these change. This card is a reminder to me that when I say I need time to adjust, I also want to make sure I'm not sabotaging myself by like trying to hold on too much to how things were before or how I think things should be. It's a reminder to really acknowledge the things that are happening right now. Like, it is okay if we miss the good times that we had in the summer when we hung out with our friends. And it's okay if we are dreading, like, this future where we are hanging out with our friends less. What is happening in this moment, even in the middle of the changes? And how can we move with the things that are happening now, adjust, reprioritize, all that stuff? How can we find acceptance for change as it is now in front of us? All right, those were some Wheel of Fortune cards I actually liked across all my different tarot decks, and tarot memoirs, personal examples related to the Wheel of Fate. So much respect to other people who have also been doing this series and who have even finished them. Laura of Aquamarine 18 has finished their series of top tarot trumps. They haven't been doing the tarot memoirs thing, but I think it's incredible that they did finish the thing. I'm taking a while because these things take a while, but I'm still determined to finish them. Watch in like 2-3 years it's still not finished, but I will still be determined, hopefully. And if not, that is okay. That is a phase that I'm at the time. If you have favorite Wheel of Fortune cards or least favorite, I'd love to hear about them. If you have personal experiences that make you understand, yes, this is the essence of the Wheel of Fortune, I would love to hear them as well. And yeah, that is all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye!